Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadowverse. So with this new chapter, we've seen a major improvement on Isabel's story. And now we're going to go through Luna's perspective of the story. But we have the benefit of only having to go through 4 of the 8 playable leaders' perspective of the story. So we don't have that issue that we've had in previous chapters where by the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th time you've had the exact same thing told to you, or at least something that is thematically extremely similar told to you. It just gets boring. Also, we've seen an increase, I'd say, from 4 out of 10 to almost somewhere between 4 and 7 out of 10 in the writing. So a major improvement as far as the story. Particularly, we've seen it even with Luna as showing up as a secondary character in Isabel's chapters, where Luna now is not being written like a 6-year-old that just goes, I don't know. And that's just, that all they can say is just like a 2-sentence word. It seems like she's now being written where she can actually string together at least several words together as a sentence, which is apparently more than I can do half the time. So it makes her potentially a more mature character, or being written as a more mature character and a more interesting character, particularly when she has to have that heavy burden of being the lead character. She's still consistently drawn too short and too young compared to all the other leaders, but what can I say? That's what they chose to do. We'll probably see a somewhat similar intro and outro. So they are, I think, still repeating that stuff.
I am Tetra,
but
my world is in danger of total
overall,
annihilation.
it was not bad.
Baphomet threatens us with the unthinkable.
I still don't like that it's Baphomet instead of Baphomet, which is how I've seen that word spelled. And Baphomet is like one of the pagan gods.
Will you accompany me to my home world of Iolan?
And I don't really like Iolan as a name.
Jumping the gun, Arisa?
We can't just leave her.
Iolan, as in like input output, would make sense, but if you're translating it from Japanese, AI means love, so it almost translates to like a love city,
Just for a minute there, when Tetra first appeared,
which would have a different
small surge of nervous power,
meaning by far.
The situation with this Baphomet character reeks of keeping
in Isabel's story.
Too much of the conflict that's broken out here in
we spent a lot of time with Tetra. I don't think Luna is going to spend anywhere as much time with Tetra. She's going to spend time with the other 3 sisters, 3 robotic sisters in this new world. But take note that they are introducing 3 new characters and a bad guy.
You had me at Nexus.
Where
even one step closer to her, I'm in.
If this was more like the previous chapter, like here.
I don't want to be all by myself either.
See, previously that would have just been written as I don't know. And maybe in Japanese, that is how it actually is written, is it's just literally her saying I don't know. But in English, it really helps to sometimes localize things and put more meaning into what's being said, because there's a lot of meaning when speaking Japanese and many Asian language around how it's said too. So you might very well, kind of a great example of that is the word baka, which just means idiot in Japanese. So you can say baka, and you can say it in a way where it's just like, aha, we're friends, I'm calling you an idiot. You can say baka in a very angry way, and it's like, I'm screaming at you, you're an idiot. And since there aren't too many cuss words in Japanese, saying it angrily is potentially the equivalent to the English of like adding the F word in front of an insult. So if I was saying saying baka angrily, it would be like saying effing idiot instead of just idiot. But there's certainly, it would make a lot more sense to localize a lot of things like that. And there's been like entire parts of games where the word like AI, just saying love, is probably better localized as saying I love you instead of just directly translating it as saying love, the word love out loud. There was a Final Fantasy game where that was translated that way.
Where am I?
It's all very subjective, the translating
cold and scary.
Japanese to English.
That old man's gone too. I don't like this place.
But see, you can see she's already being given
Huh?
more.
What's that shining so brightly?
I have no idea what that is.
Manasite is under strict regulation. Civilians are not authorized to handle it.
So Manasites
Huh?
are
What?
going to be around here. We had
Civilians
heard
are not permitted to
talked
enter
around
Manasite refinery sectors.
mana.
Please present your identification.
I don't understand what you're saying. Go away.
Unable to confirm identification. Initiating termination protocol.
Seems like all these robots
No, stop it.
are just trying to kill him.
Calculating
But
termination progress.
apparently
Continuing terminate.
these guns
I said stop it.
are not super strong. Because normally you would...
Can't you see you're hurting Mother and Father?
It's kind of ridiculous that
Aggression against enforcer units are strictly forbidden.
that a bullet doesn't kill on the first shot is kind of ridiculous. And particularly since this world is full of robots, you'd think the guns would be particularly lethal against flesh creatures.
They said they're hurt. Why are you being so mean?
We do still kind of run into this this phrase being said a lot by Luna, but take note there. That was a whole interaction, and that felt like a natural interaction and not a rushed interaction just to get to a fight. Way better writing than we've seen previously. Now we also have a problem though. If this story is going to be as long as Isabel's story, it's going to be an hour and a half. And I think it probably will be, and that probably is the smart idea, is to have only 4 leaders and then give each of the individual four leaders a little bit more time to actually have a chapter or 2 more to actually have a better story told.
Why won't you listen?
Interesting.
Additional unit detected.
This guy has like a heart shape on his chest when he's first met, and he has a ribbon, and he's already got the ribbon on his arm. I thought she was gonna put a ribbon on his arm.
I'm okay.
So he's part of the resistance.
This place is pretty dangerous, you know? Let's get you somewhere safe.
They've done an interesting thing by having Roly Poly
My name is
Mark 1 be the same height as her.
Termination protocol.
And you can see on his metal is very patchworked and dented
Okay.
compared to the way these
nothing's pinging on my radar.
robots are designed.
Phew. Looks like we're in the clear for now.
Good.
Oh yeah. My name, you can call me Roly Poly Mark 1.
I'm Luna. You have a weird name.
No way. Do I really? You know, I like my name. Ania gave it to me after all.
But you don't look very
Aina.
rolly. You're more big and clunky looking.
Nina's a weird name.
All of us robots are clunky, you know. Well, except for Ania.
Ania.
Robots?
Yep, robots. You're a human, right, Luna?
Apparently she's never seen a robot before, which
I'm not scary.
I guess would make sense. She would have probably just assumed that there was a human in
kind of remind
armor.
me of that old man. You're funny.
Oh, you know what? We should go see Ania. She's not scary either.
Now we have
I
a
promise.
danger here with Roly Poly's voice being a little too robotic and maybe a little annoying again.
She kind of looks like you, actually. And not only that, she's in a super duper safe place.
Well,
I don't
okay
know
then.
the real point
Let's take
of
off
not
now.
bringing Nicola Adele
Be careful not to get spotted by
to
those bad guys again.
to this
Gotta be
land.
sneaky.
It probably would have been very helpful for him and the land if he was here.
It's dirty here.
He could have probably
It
gotten
may look
repaired.
like a heap of junk, but that's because it is. Welcome to our neighborhood. Now then, I wonder where Ania went.
And then they throw in Ania here,
Oh,
who's kind of like a robot child character that's even younger looking than Luna. I guess I can say
Ania, where
it's
are you
nice that
going?
they're just having her as a main character in this chapter, or in this story, instead of trying to introduce her as a new character that would follow around the whole time.
She's not scary, is she?
Whoa, what's this? Are you a breedy cat too?
Am not. I mean, I've never seen anyone like her before, so maybe a little.
Yep.
Ania's super
Again,
kind.
that may have just been am not in Japanese,
Before you know it.
and way better to write it out like
Right, if you say so.
like you would write a child,
I
or
hope
or
so.
slightly older, more mature child.
Hey, wait for me. Why'd
I
you run off
still
like that?
feel like
Now I'm by
they would do
myself
well.
again.
I think this expansion probably came out around the 3rd anniversary of this game. I think they would do well to have, as an anniversary present, just given a upgrade to the default skins of all the characters and made them say, hey, it's been a year, so everybody's going to be a year older. Let's change their outfits. Let's get it so it's not so crazy and just full of details. When you think about like the American McGee Alice in Wonderland story, you could have easily had the Alice in those two games, American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Return, and actually he's trying to get the approval and funding for a 3rd game. In those games, you could have written Alice as a character that looks like a 8-year-old or a 6-year-old or something, even maybe somewhere around even a 10-year-old. 6 would probably be too young, but they really chose not to do it there, and they have her more as kind of a 12 to 16-year-old character, where it's just easier to tell that story and have adults relate to that character and that age. It's really, really hard for old adults to relate to being an 8-year-old, even if they were an 8-year-old at one time. But even if they did upgrade the default imagery of the characters, the main story might not reflect that. There are plenty of leader skins you can earn or purchase that would completely replace Luna as the Shadowcraft leader with a completely different person. But I would say in the main story, that's where the art would need to get replaced and touched up.
Where are you, Clunky?
And they still have the opportunity for that. We may get to chapter 9 and find that they do look different. They have like a new outfit. Even if you weren't going to age up the characters, changing the outfit would be nice and new.
Left to do, I'll let you figure it out on your own.
Who are you?
Oops, sorry. Listen to me just running my mouth to a little girl. No need to look so alarmed. I'm not going to hurt you.
Also mentioned
Your friend
the gaze
Ewan sent me.
issue. Should have been
Ewan? The portal man?
looking upward more
I'd
often.
say he's got a unique enough name to assume we're talking about the same person. I've been on a search for his companions, and lo and behold, here we are.
Who are you supposed to be?
So if I was gonna age her up, I'd
I'm
probably
Mono.
get rid of the doll and
now
have
it's
like
my
a
turn.
patch
All
that
is fair
looked
in
like
love
the
and
doll.
Inquisition, as they say. What's your name?
So
willing
she'd
to
just
bet
like
you
have a
don't
patch
serial
on
number,
her shirt that
I'm
looks
Luna.
like the little sheep doll.
That's funny. You kind of remind me of him.
Funny, you say. Well, humor is often subjective. Who exactly do I remind you of?
An old man. He was my first friend. I don't know why, but you just do.
So she seems to be.
Comparing me, a female model, a demure masterwork of
She seems to be
technology?
fairly terrible
Some
at
old man?
recognizing
Well,
that these people are
whatever.
robots,
So what brings you here?
considering they all have like
Monkey
glowing
went to go
lights
look for
and
another weird
robotic
girl,
arms.
But he rushed off and left me by myself. Do you know where he went?
And I thought my verbalization system was hard to understand.
Hmm.
Who is this clunky to whom you're referring?
Clunky is, well, around a robot thingy.
She's like giving nicknames to
Gotcha.
everybody.
You must be looking for Roly Poly Mark 1 and Ania, am I right? I can take you to them if you'd like.
Can you really?
I've reached maximum levels of sureness. Ania's my cute little sister after all. We're not related by blood, though. Have to have it to be related, and oil is thicker anyway.
I don't get it.
That's a weird sentence, but
Don't worry
okay.
about it. My
I think-
verbalization system wasn't programmed with children in mind. Come, this way. You can hold
Seems
my
like
hand so you don't
Mono
get lost. How about that?
doesn't know how to talk correctly.
Ouch. Sorry if I sounded a little cold. I have a little sister visually around your age, so I thought I'd be better with children. Guess life is full of surprises.
Why do you want to?
Again, Mona
I just thought that some kind
potentially,
of physical contact would be a good idea. Make sure you don't get lost, you know? Might slow us down a bit, however.
potentially sounds robotic.
We can hold hands if you want.
Really? You know, this takes me back. I still have records of doing this with Ania saved in my memory.
It would be,
hands so
once
close.
again, useful if they
Really? Well,
mentioned
I am a robot.
that they are
If
holding
you don't
heart
like it, I can
hands
generate some heat
instead
for
of
you if
just
you want.
having them move
Oh,
somewhat.
so you're a robot too. What's a robot anyway?
Now that's a deep question.
Hmm.
I could get into the nitty-gritty and try to explain everything to you, but I'll just keep it simple. We're what happens when humans make machines that look like themselves.
Which that would actually be a
Not a
word for cyborg,
You seem like one though.
not or
Yes, that's
not
because
cyborg,
I was
android.
awakened. Some robots can't think for themselves. No, those are the scary ones.
Robot doesn't
So
have
watch
to
out for
look
them,
like a
okay?
human at
Well,
all.
I can't actually guarantee that we awakened ones are any better. Either way, I'm not a bad machine. I can promise you that much.
Hmm.
From what my visual sensors are indicating, I gather that you don't fully comprehend what I'm saying. That's fine, though. I shouldn't expect a...
I guess there is a interesting debate about what makes something a robot versus something being just a
Looks like
tool,
I dedicated too many resources to our conversation. Totally
in
forgot
the
to monitor
sense
my scanner.
that
What is
most
that
people
thing?
wouldn't call a
robot
bulldozer a robot.
You pick up on things quick.
So
Yes,
you-
that unit is indeed a robot.
typically
just like
robots
myself, but
need
with
to
a key
be
difference.
somewhat
It has no free will.
human-like in its
programming.
movements and capability of actions, instead of just being able to do like
They'll
one
follow
thing
from its orders no matter
over and over
what. I don't
again.
like calling him this,
Uh,
but it's because he's the father of all robots.
So
This
typically
one's orders
you would
are to
have a
take us
robot
out, it looks
would
like.
be
You might want to
expected
hide, Luna.
to move in about the same places where a human
Stay away
could
from us.
move and
Oh,
interact
never
with
mind.
objects
Guess you're not the hiding type.
um,
but more importantly,
in
are those
some
spectral bodies? Fascinating.
some similar way to humans.
I guess this isn't
move.
the time for lighthearted conversation, is it?
So like a
I'll help you
robotic
out.
arm should be able to pick up a hammer and
Go
hammer
away.
things,
Just
or do
leave us alone.
something sort of like that, and a robot that is not connected to the ground would be expected to either be able to roll on the ground or walk on the ground.
Necromancer. That's something you don't see every day, but it's strange. I've detected that you're quite drained.
Potentially, though, that she has seen other necromancers.
Despite this, you show no signs of external harm whatsoever. Is this something that happens with necromancers? Or is it just you?
Mother, Father, I'm sorry.
That phrase gets said a lot, too.
So those spectral bodies were once related to you. You poor thing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mono could get annoying
Here, Luna,
just
take my hand.
describing
It won't be
what
like your mother's
she's
or father's.
observing.
Far colder to the touch. Then again, I wasn't created to be a replacement for humans. I know it won't be the same as your real mother or father, but take my hand. Maybe you'll feel a little better.
Okay.
It is kind of
I
sad
would much prefer their
that
one.
Mono has been the
This is all
first
I can do
person
for now.
who has,
Come on,
for
let's
any
get going.
decent length of time, treated Luna
Ania
as
can
if
be a
they
bit
cared,
reserved and reluctant to meet new people, but it should be fine if
when
she
it
sees
really
you
should have
with me.
been
I am her
Arissa
sister
or
after all.
Isabella taking care of her
Okay.
for the past.
Before we leave, I want you to know
4
something,
chapters.
little Miss Necromancer. This is a cold world, full of steel and iron, and things are pretty desolate. Just try to stay strong, okay?
She doesn't respond to that. Okay. You would have thought that they would have put in an okay sentence. But is there anything else to say here? I guess not. I'm still just being distracted by the eye line because the eyes pupils can pretty much be anywhere. So she could be assumed to be looking this way, or she could be assumed to be staring straight forward, or there's enough tilt in those pupils that she's kind of looking to the side here, which once again, the height is an issue. And you could have had a funny gag here, which we've seen basically no humor in any of the writing, but you could have had a fairly funny gag where each of the robots just shorten their length of their legs, and so then you just saw the icon like drop down, as we've seen them drop to their knees several times, and the character just pans down. But yeah, that would have made sense, or at least been a funny gag. I guess you inherently also run into a problem of a robot that is supposed to be a young sister, because if they never age, she might look visually like a little girl, and she might be 1,000 years old for all you know.
I've picked up their signals, so they should be nearby. Sorry I couldn't get you to them sooner. Reconnaissance isn't really my strong suit.
Not really
Somebody left
sure
the room
what
all messy.
Mono
Funny that you'd say that.
does that.
This room is messy, isn't it? This whole world is, actually.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know what.
Baphomet is a child. Order and structure are beyond his comprehension. Even if things in this world appear to be orderly on the surface, underneath is a chaotic mess.
I don't really get it.
I'm with you there. To be honest, Baphomet's actions make no sense to me sometimes. Oh, look who's here.
Almost feels like Mono may have been originally designed to be kind of like a nanny
I'm
character.
sorry for running. I got scared again.
And see, now you have Anina
I should be the one
being
apologizing
voiced
for
as a
popping up on an
very, very young kid. Like,
There they are.
and by the look of it, yeah, I was thinking
Hold on now.
you're
Let's
talking
keep an eye on them for a little
like
longer.
kindergartner,
Might see
first
something
grader,
Interesting.
maybe a second or third grader character.
I got scared when I saw that girl. I shouldn't have run like that. I'm sorry.
But at least they have,
Oh no! Don't get upset, Anya.
at least they're having her speak full sentences.
How about we play a game together? Come
And we're getting custom art of Ania
on.
in Roly-Poly Mark
How
1,
about hide and seek?
which I did notice. It does seem like we're going to get more of this
Let's play.
and
Thanks, Roly-Poly.
custom single images
Be the hider.
are really appreciated by me,
I'm gonna
because
make
it
a whole
shows
bunch of them this time.
that they're
Okay.
trying really hard.
What's going on?
That's Ania's power, Iota Forge. It's her unique ability to create other machines and instill them with life. Isn't that amazing?
Whoa.
It's a power that could be used to do terrible things. Lucky for us, Ania has nothing but kindness in her heart. So far, she's only created playmates for herself. A waste of potential as far as Baphomet was concerned.
So
Okay, but what is she though?
some of these robots do seem to have
Basically,
magic.
her powers make her a one-of-a-kind robot. Now, come along. I'll introduce you to her.
Won't she just run away again?
Not as long as you're with me. I'm her big sister after all. Now, come on. How have you been, Ania? Looks like you haven't changed a bit since I last saw you. Impossible for our kind to grow, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a weird sentence to say as a robot.
Ania, what's wrong?
Nothing, see? There's nothing to be afraid of, Ania. Luna's a good girl. She'll be your friend.
Neither of them are saying anything.
Now you have two shy girls.
I should have expected that. They're both shy after all. Once they get to know each other, I'm sure they'll get along famously.
And both
Good luck with that,
pretty
by the
much
way.
not raised by kids, by adults at all.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
Hey,
as
you're
far as we
perfect for
know,
this kind of stuff. My
Luna's
verbalization system's
parents
not
may have
great
been
for children,
killed
but yours,
when
on
she
the other
was,
hand, is simple and friendly.
like,
Besides,
well, her necromancy could be that she was killed as a 1 or 2 year old. Her parents may have been
if
killed,
anything happens,
and she may
contact
just
me
be
immediately.
incapable
Can't
of
say if I'll be
starving
able
to
to help,
death.
but I'll be
So
there ASAP.
she potentially could just
There she goes.
have wandered around the forest for years and years.
Oh boy, what am I gonna do?
Now, we can't really see it. I do have to applaud Ania's outfit as being nowhere as detailed as Luna's outfit. There's just way too much ambition here. This would be a great point, frankly, for her to give the doll over to Ania and grow up as a character. But also, she's just about an inch or two, maybe 3 shorter, and she does just come off as younger. The shorter hair kind of adds to that, and as eccentric and fancy as this dress is, it at least does kind of make somebody look a little bit older, where this is almost like what a baby would wear in Japan. But it is also still very good writing, even though not much has happened so far. At least we're having a story that seems fairly appropriate and good.
Boy.
For Luna, something more
Ania,
useful in her experience instead of
What kind of game?
her just following
Let's play
Nicola Adele.
mountains and tunnels.
yep, check it out. All you do is make a big pile of junk and then dig out a tunnel. Right, Ania?
I like the tunnel part. How do you make one?
Come on, we'll show you.
That is
Like
a
this.
pretty pathetic game. And she's on her knees.
It collapsed, but that's okay.
Here. Oh, oops.
Now it'll get really annoying if she starts
It collapsed again.
crying.
I bet that junk here's no good, that's all.
Wait, what if you just move this piece here, like this? Huh?
You think? Might be worth a shot.
Okay. Like this, right? This piece over here and... Oh!
Wow, It really worked. I haven't seen a tunnel like this in, well, ever.
So she's basically playing her own version of Bridge Constructor,
Really?
which I guess was a pretty popular game.
We could make an even bigger mountain with an even bigger tunnel. Right, Ania?
Yeah, probably. Should we all make one together?
Come on, Ania. Let's ask her to help us. Luna's a good girl.
Good idea. Luna, could you please teach us how to make tunnels like that?
Yeah, this is kind of
I don't
unimportant
mind.
story,
Once I made a tunnel that was this big.
but it's still
Big?
nice
Whoa.
interaction.
I'll start making one
I will
here.
say, the gold, the gems,
Then I'll,
it really does kind of
the
feel
other side.
really inappropriate
Yeah,
for
we'll need
younger
somewhere in the middle, and
characters
that's
and
when
a
the
lot of
rest done.
characters in general.
Dig, dig,
Like,
dig,
she may be a robot, but I don't know why a robot would
dig,
have like
dig.
golden bracelet armor
Whoa.
and
It's
golden
teetering.
gems.
It's tottering. I'll hold it up, but be careful, you two.
Got it. Thanks.
Should be a good point for the camera just to pan everything
This could get
so that they're
dangerous.
more centered, particularly if you're playing this on a cell phone.
Almost finished. Oh.
Like,
Oh. It's a hand. That's my hand. Hi there.
Yahoo! We did it, ladies. I now pronounce this tunnel open for operation.
then you have this problem of every time when a character
Hanging out with the two of
gets
you is
brought to
a
the full
blast.
screen, you have
Wanna do
her
anything else?
mechanical wing basically slicing her
I wanna
throat.
keep playing. Luna, will you play with us? Sure. I had fun too.
Well, what do you want to play next, Luna?
Alright, they went back to I don't know.
Play Adventure Heroes.
Hmm.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Hmm. Asking
Look at
Luna
this. In such
what do
a
you want to
weird
play
shape.
would require her to explain any game she knew.
Strange little thingy.
Luna, Ania, check it out. I found something weird too. A weird spring. Boing, boing.
Apparently they dressed him up at some point.
It looks so silly. Like a
Yes.
mouse's tail.
His eyes are arrows.
Me too. I need to find something. How about this one?
Whoa, don't pull that one. The mountain will fall apart.
And then his eyes kind of like emoji eyes.
Are you okay? Are you hurt?
I'm fine. But I don't like that noise. Huh? What noise?
Initiating deep circuit scan. Emotional capacity confirmed. Initiating termination protocol.
So apparently she can recognize when she's being
They're back.
scanned.
Oh, yikes! They've spotted us. We need to run.
And this is kind of a great story to have Luna
Capacity
be the
confirmed.
protector,
Uniform
because there
violation
isn't someone
detected.
else here.
Initiating disciplinary and termination protocols.
You don't have someone here that obviously would be a stronger fighter.
Acts of aggression against enforcer units are
I
strictly
wonder what the
forbidden by
uniform
Rebirth of
actually
Glory.
is. Do you just have to have the symbol on you?
We were having so much fun too. Why'd you have to come and ruin everything? Just leave us alone.
Now, honestly, if I was hanging around a little girl and it turned out she was a necromancer who could summon ghosts, I would probably be scared at that point, so I wouldn't be surprised if Roly-Poly Mark 1 and Anemona, or however you pronounce her name, got scared from seeing this and ran away.
I hate those things. Ever since I got here, they've been so mean to me.
You can still tell that she's
You saved us.
still fairly childish. It's just like everything is, I hate this, you're so mean, same phrases over and over again. Probably because in Japanese you would just say the same phrases over and over again. And there's not as much a stigma for repeating yourself. In English, you kind of don't want to repeat yourself, and you want to rephrase yourself. Of course, being able to rephrase yourself in the English language does point out that you potentially can lose understandability in the English language.
Sometimes she's hard to understand, though.
I didn't know what she was saying half the time either.
Right? But I'm always learning new things from her, and she's just so cool. And Tetra, she's the serious one. She's always fighting for all of us. She's taught us
now,
so
Tetra's
many
outfit,
things about ourselves
if we ever
and
see
other awakened
Ania
humans, too.
or Mono
nicer than Tetra.
next to Tetra, Tetra's outfit kind of makes absolutely no sense in this world, in that she's basically wearing a latex bodysuit that is just like super tight and all blue. We don't see anything like that on any of the robots, and Ania is wearing just fabric and kind of fantasy style fashion out of cloth, and same was with Mono.
They're not here because they can't be.
Well, how come?
I can't see them. I would just get in their way, I think. They're better off without me holding them back.
Again, it could potentially get very annoying if any of the characters start crying.
Don't be sad.
Or start crying a lot.
I'm not.
Are you sure?
I'm not sad. So why do I feel this way?
Luna, as a character, does feel like she's pretty much disconnected from her own emotions, and her character will grow greatly if she could address that, if the story can address that. And her powers of necromancy would probably grow greatly if she could address it. I don't think in Isabel's story we fought any of the other leaders either, so that was really nice. So I imagine Luna won't end up fighting Isabel or Urias or Yuan.
Please exit and move to the testing room.
Junk. Worthless. Good for nothing. That's all I remember him ever calling me. Since forever ago.
Jeez. I knew giving him free will was a stupid idea. These piles of scrap are useless to me.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh, look
This
at
could
you,
get dark real
blood-red
quick.
Mess. And you were supposed to be the 9th model. Pathetic. I knew I should have just focused on the Furies instead.
He's talked about the Furies once before. We don't know what they are, though.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Dumb piece of junk. What are you getting sad for? Gross. I guess even geniuses have off days now and then. Whatever.
It's really questionable,
Always look
though.
forward, never look
It's
back,
like
right?
either this guy is a robot,
Hey, you.
or
Get rid of this
he
failure.
literally
She's
is the last
worthless
human on the
scrap.
planet.
I don't
Probably
see no
because
face
he
around here
might have
again.
killed all the humans on the planet.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm junk. I'm useless. I'm a failure. I shouldn't have been made.
And her saying sorry probably
Why was I
translates from
given
something
this
like
life
Komi
and these
Masai
feelings?
in Japanese.
Why do I have to be sad?
And again, how you emphasize that puts a lot of different meaning around it. And here we have different
There was
kinds of
nothing to
soldier.
say. I didn't care anymore. It didn't matter that I was made. It didn't matter that I was alive. And it didn't matter how I
I
felt.
think Komi Messiahs, I'm sorry.
Because
I could be wrong
it would
about
all
that.
disappear soon anyway. At least, that's what I thought.
I only have a
Stop right there!
small understanding
girl
of the
is our
Japanese
sister.
language.
No mercy even for such a small child. I must say it is far beyond the scope of my understanding. But I suppose none of that matters to you, so get lost.
Yeah, there's just like no consistency here
It's gonna be okay.
with the
There's
outfits
nothing to worry about anymore.
because each
Just
character
kidding.
is supposed
There's
to
a lot to worry about. But we'll worry about
That-
our worries
they're supposed to be
later.
like different styles
Who
of
are you? I'm
card
Mono.
players.
She's Tetra. We're
Clearly
your
she would
sisters.
be like a
Your
Bloodcraft
family.
character, and this is
Family?
probably a Havencraft character
It was my
or a
first time
Portalcraft
hearing
character.
that word.
And then
It was the first time a
Anima.
word ever made me feel so happy inside.
I don't know what kind of
They accepted me. A useless,
craft
good-for-nothing
she would be.
piece of junk.
Maybe a
My
Fairycraft
sister.
or maybe a Havencraft.
I didn't have a place where I belonged until they showed up. But they taught me what it meant to be a family.
We're still running into a problem with a lot of the flashbacks really having
Come,
nothing
Anya.
to show.
Hold my hand.
But
Let us leave this wretched place.
it kind of it would be better than just staying on the same
Was
screen.
really smart. She always had an answer. And Tetra was really serious. But she was always so kind to me.
But you might
I loved my sisters more than anything.
just have this cycle through some of
Scraps
the
we hid in
backgrounds
was the very first place I could
while they're
call a home.
remembering things.
It was a
Just empty
strange and new
backgrounds
experience,
fading in and out.
But with them,
That might give the
finally
feeling
felt
of
safe.
traveling
They
as
meant
people
the
are
world to me.
remembering.
Ania, get down!
Initiating termination protocol.
These robots are weird in that they're kind of noseless.
Tetra!
Stay back! Do not fret, Ania. We are here for you. We will protect you.
They were always so kind.
Yeah, I'd probably put
always
her
protecting
in the
me,
Fairycraft
but always
branch.
getting hurt. It was my fault. I couldn't fight. I couldn't help. All I could do was make those useless dolls.
You can
No matter
definitely see
kind they
how
were, no matter
Anima's
how much they loved me.
story
Still no
parallels
better than
Luna's
junk.
story,
So that's why I had to say goodbye.
and by hearing this
sorry.
backstory,
I can't
Luna
stay.
potentially can grow
I
herself
was sad to say
and
those
realize
things.
that she's actually a powerful,
Something
competent
on your mind,
person.
Ania? That's quite a serious expression.
Is something wrong with your internal mechanisms? Please tell us if you have been damaged.
Mono, Tetra, I'm leaving this place. I can't stay with you anymore.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying goodbye. I'm so sorry for everything.
Hmm.
If there was at least one way a piece of junk like me could help them, it was by leaving. I finally
Yep.
realized where I should have been all
A lot of
along.
characters in the
Far,
story have
far away from my dear sisters.
a lot of self-loathing,
That's why I'm alone. That's how it
which
should be.
I don't know if you assume that that is the case for collectible card game players in general. I would not agree with that, and I really wouldn't agree with like anime fan or anime video game visual novel fans just inherently having the more than average amount of self-loathing. I think perhaps maybe the authors or the director might just play into that theme a little too often. Perhaps they have some internalized self-loathing.
Cheer up, you two. Oh, I know. Let's play something
This
else.
story does come
What do
off
you say?
very much like a story
Don't feel like
written for kids,
Hey,
which
Yes.
let's just assume that this was supposed to be like a Yu-Gi-Oh style game that was trying to be targeted to
I
young
can't be
kids.
with them.
Um,
I cause nothing but trouble.
then the question really would be,
One of them just came to see you earlier.
why don't
So you
they
can see them
have...
again, right? Come on.
Well, actually, that might explain some of the bad writing in the previous stories.
I won't go.
Like Arissa's story and Isabel's story and all that, and even Uriah's story, that they really aren't super bloody or super mature. So
Why?
maybe I am just looking at this from a perspective of
Don't get it.
Shadowverse
Why
being a
not?
game
You
targeted
can see
towards
them whenever you want to,
like
but
the
you
Dungeon
won't.
Dragon
That doesn't make
players
any
in the
sense.
United States, which would probably be people in the mid-30s, when this game very well may be targeted and thought to be built for
Told you,
like
I just can't.
12, 14-year-olds. And
This is
yeah,
dumb.
about 3 months ago they did make a anime for Shadowverse that has nothing to do with this main story, and that anime definitely, from the screenshot I saw, looked like it was very much a Yu-Gi-Oh type anime that would have been targeted for a 12-year-old, 12, 14-year-old.
Seriously, why won't she listen to what I'm saying?
Wait. Don't
So
run off on your own, Luna.
Luna runs off on her own because
What are you doing
she
here?
can't understand
Please don't be upset.
Anima's.
Ania has her reasons for not seeing her sisters.
But it's weird. Why can't she just go see them if she wants to? She could if she wanted, but she won't. It's
And
dumb.
you can see the conflict here is she desperately wants to see her parents and can't because they're dead, or can't in any other way than seeing the ghosts and the skeletons.
Violation detected. Initiating disciplinary and termination.
It would be funny if it eventually turns out that the uniform violation is not because they're not wearing the right uniform, but it's because they just are not
Stop
in
bothering us already and go
uniform.
away.
They're not built and looking the same way as all the other characters, thus they are not uniform to code.
Damage critical.
I hate those things.
And the way these battles are written are fairly nicely written
Mother, Father,
in which it just
sorry. I did
she
it again, didn't I?
she immediately just attacked him
What's the matter,
and
Luna?
didn't have to write 5 sentences
Well,
of
actually,
dialogue.
do you know where Ania's sisters are?
Their location.
Well, in previous chapters it has been
The resistance hideouts and
uh,
other places they
it has
visit
been
are
like 5 to
registered to my
10
memory.
sentences of dialogue
Okay,
before you get to a fight
me
that
there.
was obviously going to happen no matter what.
What? Luna? Why?
It doesn't matter. Just take me there, Clunky.
Alright, I'll take you. I think the nearest one is this way. Mono should be there. Follow me, Luna.
Now, if Roly Poly's with her, then
Here?
Anima
It looks like another pile of junk.
is pretty much just left on her own.
Oh, it's Mono. Over here. Follow me.
Oh, what's this? It is most fortuitous to see you again, but whatever brings you here? I can't imagine anything good, that's for sure.
What are you doing?
I detected a suboptimal level of moisture in the soil here, so I came to replenish it. Well, I guess you could say I'm just feeding the flowers.
So there is some form of life in this world.
Are you also fond of flowers, Luna? Despite your youthful innocence, it
It would
appears
be
you at least have the capacity
a little
to
bit interesting
appreciate
if there
their
was
beauty.
actually
Unlike your
never
eyes,
any
Ruby is.
biological life
Surely
in
you
the
didn't
world.
Come to look at flowers, though. So what brings you here? Some sort of emotional conflict?
And then at a
erupts
certain
between you
point,
and
if you're
Ania?
talking something like a virus versus a germ,
Or anything.
the definition of whether something is alive or not, or biological versus being mechanical, becomes
I don't get her.
very,
She keeps
very
saying
nebulous.
That she can't see her sisters, even though we all know that she wants to. Neither of you've gone anywhere. She can see you whenever she wants, so why can't all of you just be together?
Is that so? I sense an irredeemable conflict of ideals has appeared betwixt you. Not sure if something like that can be easily fixed.
Why won't you ever play with her?
Trust me, I want to. Just hearing you talk about her causes me to start replaying our memories together. I guess you could explain this phenomenon as nostalgia. As much as I'd like to, I can't see her. It would only cause her pain. You saw it, right? The look on her face when she told you.
No, I can't. I won't go. I won't see them. I can't. I just can't, okay?
Yeah. It's complicated.
Now I kind of assume this story is
with my verbalization
before
system.
the first Frozen movie, which
I just want to know
told a similar story
Come with me.
with
I'll get you the directions
the
to
older
Tetra's
sister
coordinates. So take
locking
Luna to
herself
her,
away
okay?
from her younger sister
Okay.
to protect her.
got it.
Who's Tetra?
Our other sister. I don't think I could do her justice with an explanation. You should just go meet her. Besides, I have another matter I must attend to.
That is a weird
Are you going somewhere?
voice
I'm
acting.
going to search for Urias Formand. Judging by his behavior so
And her
far,
lips aren't
I
moving
think it'd be best if I took care of
when
him
she's
before he
talking,
does
or her
something
lips
too drastic.
are moving so incredibly little,
Better hurry then.
and you can kind
And
of
you'd
see
better hurry
where
to meet Tetra.
the
And when you
anime
see
style
Anya
of having
again,
a big
remind her
mouth
that I
when
love her, okay?
it's opened really benefits, because yeah, when she's speaking her mouth is barely opening at all. Now we still kind of have a problem where we're not getting major conflict resolution in one chapter,
You haven't said a word since we left.
but we probably will get that in the next chapter.
Oh,
But at least for Isabel's story, there was
look, we're
a
almost
secondary
there. The signal's
issue
getting
that was
closer.
resolved,
We'll see Tetra soon enough.
and there was a decent amount of character development for Tetra,
Initiating termination
and I
protocol.
feel like there's being
Wait,
a
what?
decent amount of
Is that a
character.
surveyor? Tetra should have been here.
Oh no. Roly-poly Mark 1. And you are?
Continuing termination
So, yeah.
protocol. Continuing termination
We're getting
protocol.
decent characterization of the three sisters.
Go away!
It'd be interesting if it turned out all the leaders are actually leaking mana wherever they go, and that flourishes and builds up the amount of life in these lands. This isn't really the best point to mention this out, but yeah, once again, Tetra's outfit in no way matches any of the other sisters' outfit. I don't know if they're going for like the Terminator concept where because she can jump from one world to another world, she's close to naked and in kind of like a special outfit because of that, but then that would also kind of counter all of the
I
armor.
appreciate the support.
At a certain point it just makes it seem like she has some wild
We
fashion
actually came to ask you
compared to
something.
everyone else.
You came here? Just for that? Yeah. Ania told me that she loves you.
She's
But
oddly
she doesn't want to see you or Mono.
they should just
I don't know
move
why
her
she keeps
further
saying that.
back
I found
or
Mono, but
pan
she's
the
too
screen.
hard to understand, so she told me to come ask you.
center the frame of the
I
shot.
see. I feel I am missing some much needed context here, but I think I understand what you are requesting. But before that, please follow me. This area is still dangerous.
Her sleeves
Okay,
are
right behind you.
fabric.
Thank you for waiting, Isabel.
Welcome back.
Isabel?
Luna!
Oh, Luna, is this your friend?
We've already
She's more
seen
than a
this
friend.
conversation, but
Came to this world together.
unlike previous chapters,
After tracking down Roly-Poly Mark
there
1's
aren't too many
signal,
of these
I found him with
conversations
Luna,
that seem to
engaged
happen.
in combat with an enforcer.
I was able to escort them here afterward without any further trouble.
Well, that's fortunate.
There is
Are you hurt?
a danger in that
Nope, I'm
in
fine.
Isabel's
But,
story,
I
we
wanna
found
talk
out
with the
Tetra
robot
was
lady.
lying about something fairly
You
big.
mean Tetra?
Uh-huh. We made a
Which,
tunnel, and then we went on a
effectively,
quest. Oh, and Chloe's
she's-
playing with us too.
Effectively,
Uh-huh.
she's promising
Do you
a
mean that my
resurrection
sister, Ania?
slash
My memory has
afterlife,
no record of a unit by the name of
which-
Clunky, however.
frankly, there have been in the previous chapters kind of
Must be
a
him.
atheist
That makes sense.
sentiment that was said
Luna,
multiple times,
wish
that
to
they
speak
said
with
there
you.
are no gods in this land
Yeah.
many times.
About your sister
In
who
this
was all
next
by
land,
herself.
that there is no
When we were
resurrection, even
playing,
though you have someone
I saw that she was
promising
happy.
it.
She was smiling when we talked.
But it does then get
And
back
when I
to
saw how happy she was,
potentially,
me
if she's
smile too.
lying, then maybe Mono's lying
But
about
when
something.
she said she couldn't be with her sisters,
Then Anima
she
might
looked
be
so
lying about
sad.
something.
And I don't know why, but I started to feel sad too.
I mean, it's fairly easy just to
So
paint
that's why
all of the new characters with the same
I
brush.
want to know why.
It's not fair,
Why
but
can't
it's
she come meet you?
easy enough to do.
I see. You must want to know why we separated and why I have not gone to see her.
Mm-hmm. So how come?
Among we sisters, Ania is the most advanced unit of all. She was Belphamet's most promising creation. And his biggest disappointment, he stopped making sentient technology after what he saw as a grand failure.
And it follows a long
Belphamet has
Japanese
berated Ania for
anime
too long.
translation
She believes herself little
where
more than a useless drone.
where the smaller and more
Even if
childlike a
Lana or
character
I would
is, the more
retrieve her,
powerful they
there is
might
no
be.
way to change her mindset at this stage. She has determined that her presence would hinder us, and so made the decision to be alone.
Do you hate her?
Negative. Ania is very dear to me. To speak truthfully, I would like to be with her, and yet I wish to respect her judgment as well. It is a contradiction that affects me to my very deepest circuitry.
So do you love her?
Affirmative.
Okay, then I'm gonna go talk to her.
Luna, are you serious? I think it'd be best if we stuck together.
But I have to go back.
I know I can't stop you.
This would be a great point for Isabel to say, "Hey, I'll go with you too and meet this new character."
It should be fine. Roly-Poly Mark I is Ania's creation. He is extremely durable.
If you say so. Be sure to protect Luna, you hear?
Yep, you can count on me.
See you later, Isabel. Bye.
I'm gonna be fairly disappointed if it turns out that the bow and the heart really are just how Ania built her, and there's not any bigger meaning behind it.
Say, you know what? How about we head back then? I bet Ania's worried sick.
All right.
And there you have a nice chapter where we didn't have to fight anybody, so it's just like no reason for that. Well, I guess maybe I did have to fight somebody at some point there, but I don't remember fighting anyone in that story. But honestly, that's how all the chapters should be, frankly. They should just tell a story, and at the end of telling a story, they should just have you play a card game, and there doesn't have to really be any connection between the two. They could just throw one of these robots as an opponent every time. Sure, in the final battle, in the final chapters, we should fight Baphomet, and the story should integrate with that. But just fighting another minion at the end of each chapter would be fine. Although it is also sometimes nice to just have a story chapter and have some falling action, and embrace that mentality of having some rising action and falling action, then rising action, then falling action again.
They really love her, but they won't go see her either.
Ania's sad about it too. She thinks she'd just bring them down.
This is sadly
What's that supposed to mean?
a situation that
They're still
probably
here,
happens a
aren't they?
lot between siblings and
Can't meet
family
the ones
members.
I love anymore.
Aw, Luna.
Mother and father left me, and I love them more than anything in the world. But I can't see them anymore. They're here with me, but I know now they're actually gone. I can't have them back anymore, but she still has a chance.
This would be a great point to have the skeletons just fade out of existence and just never use this artwork again, because we really don't need
Uniform violation
a
detected.
art
Initiating
work
disciplinary
that's just
protocol.
this incredibly wide, taking up so much space.
Hurry, Luna! Hurry!
It was so hard. So I did awful, awful things. And now Mother and Father are hurting because of me.
But they seem very committed to
She can
to
still meet them, so why
her
won't she? It's dumb.
feeling like she's hurting the souls of her parents, which I'm not 100% sure if that's the truth, but I guess you have to take it as the truth at this point. I mean, it's been so many chapters where she's been saying that.
Are you hurt, Luna?
Interesting that they had that
You really missed your parents.
that robot
didn't you?
say damage critical and spent the extra money on one extra line.
You have loved ones you miss. It might not get better right away, but I know everything's gonna be alright in the end. You wanna know why? Because you're not alone. You have Ania. And I don't know if this helps.
It would also be funny if it turns out that she has like the bones of her parents in this doll, or some magical talisman.
Okay, Luna?
She's been carrying it around with her, unquestioned, from the word go.
Alright, let's go see Ania then. Oh, I bet she misses us so much.
Right.
Luna, roly-poly.
So yeah, they pretty much just left her alone.
Sorry for leaving you alone like
And I
that.
guess the outskirts of these areas are
It's fine.
fairly safe.
I'm
Or at least they
sorry,
thought it
Luna.
was.
You were just thinking of me. Even though you invited me to go see them, I'm sorry.
It's okay, Ania. I can't see the ones I love anymore, so that's why I wanted you to go see the ones you love.
Luna.
Once someone dies, that's it. It's like saying goodbye forever. Even robots die someday.
Yes,
Yep, that phrase gets
I know.
used a lot.
That's
When
why
someone
you should let
dies, that's
everyone
it.
you love know it while you
It
still
does
can.
seem like they are reusing voice acting lines from previous chapters.
Oh, yikes! This got really heavy. I have to do something. Hey, I'll be right back.
Wait, where are you going?
I love my parents, but I think it's time to say goodbye.
What do you mean?
I was not expecting
Some awful things happened to my
Ania
family.
to teach Luna a lesson. I was expecting it to go the other way.
Are those your parents?
Even though Mother and Father were killed by a bad man, I kept their souls with me. That's why they're
We're
hurting.
gonna get the music
It's
playing,
all my fault.
which is fine.
I
It
hurt
just
my
would
sisters too.
be really useful if the
Only I
music
wasn't useless
faded
crap.
out or played long
I
enough
guess we're kind of the same.
for the
We can't see the
story
ones
and
we
the
love
sound
the
of
most.
the talking to actually
I'm sorry,
happen
Ania.
all the way through.
No, I'm sorry, Luna.
Which it won't. They'll run
So
out of music
sorry.
2 or 3 sentences before they run out of
You
things
were
to say.
always so nice to me.
Remember, this is also
Miss how you
auto
made me feel,
moving forward,
but I couldn't do anything for them in return.
and it hardly feels like
Just-
they've got a
just
basic
worthless.
auto forward system
But
here,
still,
in which it's just like
you were
waiting
always
5
so
seconds
loving and
after each
forgiving.
section of text.
It was
It's
fine that I
waiting
couldn't do anything.
only
They just
1 second or
wanted me
2.
to be with them.
after it's spoken.
My sisters protected me. I hated that I couldn't do anything to protect
Which means
them
that they've hard-coded the length of every audio file.
I can't fight like them.
Otherwise, it would try to move forward before it had put all the text or all the text had been spoken. I will say, I've not paid a lot of attention to the story, but I still think it's way better than what we've had before. There's just kind of a general lack of interest after going through so much story in one short amount of time.
Check it out! I found something funny! Wait, huh? Anya? Luna? Why are you both crying?
Again, it would have been helpful if they showed that both characters started crying. Because there was no for that. I was wrong. The music actually did play all the way to the end. So it worked that time. Definitely hasn't worked every time, however. But they're getting better with it. And then the next chapter, we don't have the same music playing again, which is good.
Huh? Roly poly?
Get ready for a funny face!
Yeah, if you were to try to turn this kind of story into like an anime direct-to-movie, direct-to-DVD movie, it would be fairly tough to get like a 2-hour movie out of it. Like, because there definitely would be a lot of dialogue that you would have to balance out with action, and maybe at that point, if you're gonna throw in a bunch of extra action, you might very well turn it into a like episodic experience. But then it would probably be fairly boring too.
He sounds great.
You see that a lot in like advertisement animes that are made, where it's just like a mess of a rushed story because they just have to cram so many events and so many characters into the story that there isn't enough time to fully flush out the entire events.
You're right. It's just
like
I've never talked to anyone about them until now.
Like this main story,
You can tell me.
we've spent probably somewhere around 35 to 40 hours.
She's super good at cooking all kinds of delicious food.
So
once we made
how you turn 35 to 40 hours into to even a single season would be really a lot of work.
Sometimes he'd take us out for picnics if the weather was nice. Cakes, picnics. It all sounds so fun. Yeah, it was. What other kinds of things did you do? We had
Now, it would be-
dances sometimes. Lots of people in pretty dresses came to our house.
It would be
We danced
interesting
all around the room.
if she
And Mother and Father would
gets
dress me up in
confused
pretty outfits, too.
and then makes her a robot that represents her
And
mother and
decorating the
father.
house was fun, too.
It'd be even weirder if she did that, made robots, and somehow the souls moved into the robots.
A sparkling ballroom. Amazing. I wish I could have been there. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Her parents clearly were rich.
Wowee! A sparkly party! We've never done anything like that.
Yeah, I wish I could go to one. Wow, I thought everybody had been to a party before.
Well, we don't have much to celebrate here, I guess.
A room filled with sparkling lights. I wonder what it would look like. Okay, that's easy. I'll show you what it looks like myself.
You can? How?
We could just decorate this place with pretty decorations, and it'll sparkle too.
But this place is dirty, and there's nothing here but bent scrap metal. I don't think we could find anything pretty.
How about we pick up some stuff from somewhere else then?
Somewhere else?
Huh? What's that shining so brightly? I know just the thing. I'll go get it. You'll see.
Wait, Luna! It's dangerous!
How's she gonna touch or pick up mana? This will be interesting. Be interesting to see what happens when you touch mana as a Necromancer.
I'll go after her.
But
It's fine. I'll come back. I promise. So wait here, okay?
I'm all alone again.
This
Everyone does so much for me, and I can't do anything on my own.
is probably not mentally healthy to
Maybe I can
leave
still change.
Ania alone, since she is kind of obviously somewhat depressed. I have expect every time I see this wing that sometimes flips to the other side, that is her arm, and she should be missing an arm, but it's not the case. They're just flipping the image now and then. I'd also say the loading tips that are happening in the main story maybe slightly helpful for new players, but even after playing for a decent number of hours, like 5 to 10 hours, you pretty much know what they're saying, so it's not super useful. Like, you pretty much know what banish is, and when you're playing the multiplayer, it loads in images of other characters, which with their backstory and card description.
I think it's manasite.
Manasite?
Yep. They're crystallized chunks of mana. You refine them into fuel at a mana forge. The mana in Iolan's atmosphere is very weak, so manasite is super valuable. Baphomet controls all of the mining and transportation, though.
It isn't very nice of him to keep it to himself. He should share.
Yes, well, either way, the manasite sectors are always under tight security, so you don't want to go there. You could get hurt.
But I found some on
The idea that it needs tight security does
Sometimes
imply
pieces will fall off of the cart during transport,
does
but
apply
we shouldn't
to
touch them. We'll get in big trouble.
there's clearly more security
Even Ania and I
needed
only seen crew
because of the
parasites
resistance.
lying around maybe once or twice. Come on, let's go back. What do you say?
It'd be very
No,
boring
I've already decided.
if
I want to show it
she
to
said,
Ania no
"Yeah,
matter what."
you're right, I'll go back."
But Luna.
Then
I
you
wanna give
have
half of
this
it to
light.
Ania. That way we can share a piece of something. It'll remind us of each other.
This looks like this might be something of importance, but
I
doesn't
made 2 friends before I came to this world,
doesn't
but one of
really
them
seem
died,
like it's anything.
and I had to leave
And
the
this
other
kind of
one.
looks like a
It
clock,
was really sad.
but why would
Except my
robots need a
friends,
clock?
They took care of me while we were together.
It does kind of imply that
I
a
just
lot of
wanna
these
show it that
backgrounds
same
might be
kindness.
just pre-purchased
Okay.
backgrounds or third-party
Let's do it.
animators
After all,
that
I'm
they
not
hired
good at
and
making faces. I'm
didn't know what
pretty
they were
great
really
at
drawing.
both, you know.
You said it was a dangerous place, right?
It does feel
I'll be
like
able
the
to
main
handle it,
story is
but
written
will you
and
be okay?
animated by somebody different than the main game,
I was built as
because most of the
sturdy
card
as they
art
come. Let's
looks
try not to find too much trouble,
looks
though.
different.
Actually, you know what? I'll face anything because I want her to be happy.
And yeah, 4 years
Same
into
goes for
Shadowverse,
you, of course.
they
Thanks.
definitely
Then do you know
should
where I can
have
find the shiny rocks?
a good couple of artists
Just
on the
leave it
payroll.
to me.
You wouldn't want to lose your
Ania's
main
gonna be
artist
grinning from ear to
team.
ear.
So this is a mana forge?
Yep.
So the building in the
Please,
exact
be
center
careful, Luna.
is a mana forge.
No
So I guess
irregularities detected.
all of this light shooting up
No
might be them like sucking the mana out of the atmosphere.
Look like they mean business.
But look, there's a shiny rock right there on the ground.
I don't know about this, Luna.
It's fine. You stay here. I'll go get it myself.
If it was going to be a rock, they should have animated it like a rock.
Refinery sectors. Please present your identification.
Luna, be careful.
And then you have this problem where all of these surveyors look the same. So if they're supposed to be stronger, they...
Father, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need your help again.
Like, I don't know why you wouldn't maybe improve a badge here or there. Just have maybe a certain number of gems added to show a power level. Spice it up without really having to do a lot of different animation.
Whoa. Now that's what I call power. Luna?
And unlike the previous story, it is possible that they are upsetting the balance of this world, but I don't know if that means Nerva is doing that on purpose to lead this world into war. I mean, pretty much that's what this world is kind of already at war with the rebels and Bahamut.
Get out of here.
And it's kind of ridiculous that the robots would be talking out loud and then just talking about how they confirmed the hit, thus they're going to keep on shooting, when a robot would almost certainly just keep on shooting.
Continuing termination protocol. Continuing termination protocol.
Ouch! Ow! Ow! Owie! Come on! Is that all you've got?
Mother, father, no!
Damn it! Critical.
Yeah, and when they sound like that, that sounds a lot more like a girl talking, a human talking, instead of a robot.
Come on, let's get out of here.
It looks like we've lost them for now.
I definitely am going to want to listen to some of these lines of dialogue in Japanese at some point in the future. Because I bet in whatever native language, whether it's Japanese or Korean, this does sound fairly different and probably a little better. I wouldn't say the localization voice acting is terrible now, but it sometimes does feel like the director's choice in who is hired and what kind of voice they're doing does seem a little off.
But I couldn't say anything, even though I saw how lonely she was. So I ended up doing a whole lot of nothing.
And I guess you have Roly Poly Mark 1 and Anemia both being important characters in this story, on top of Tetra and Mono.
Really?
You betcha. You accomplished everything I wanted to do for her, and more. That's why I'm glad I was able to help you help her.
Well, we still need to decorate when we get back, so you're not done helping out
So
just yet.
it does feel like this story is just gonna end with them decorating and having a party of sorts, which is fine. That's way better and different based compared to so many previous chapters where it was just like, we're gonna walk around and join a guild and get ready to fight for one guild against the other 4 guilds.
We're back, Ania, and we brought back a whole bunch of shinies.
There is an argument that where you click OK here and then you have to click over OK here, and it then leaves your mouse cursor kind of in just bad places.
Oh, no. She might be in big trouble. Hold on. Scanning for unit N3744.
Is that Ania?
It's fine. She's close. And in a safe area, too.
I wonder if she's playing
she
hide and
okay?
seek. Although if they can scan...
There isn't supposed to be any danger where she is, but it sure is weird for her to wander off like that.
Then let's make this place sparkle before she gets back. She'll be so surprised.
Now that's an idea. Let's get started right away.
J2, my child, my precious boy.
That's just labeled as
Come
an
to me,
announcement.
J2, my child, my precious boy.
Huh? What was that all about?
Who knows? Hurry up and get over here before Nia gets back.
That's right.
There does seem like there is some mystery around J2.
Polly, are you there? What's this?
See, again, if they were going to be sparkly rocks,
Surprise!
they should have
We
been
made the whole
sparkly
place
rocks.
sparkle.
Isn't it just gorgeous? We found the parts together.
Wow, you did? Yep. Do you like it? Oh, it's beautiful. I've never seen anything so magical. All the sparkliness really cheers the place up, huh? Yes, it really does. Luna, roly-poly, thank you.
This kind of feels like an argument that all of the cards should be animated versions of the cards, which are like super premium.
This has
It'd
been
be
so much
pretty
fun.
impossible to have a complete collection of animated cards.
Thank you.
Interesting, that's the first time we've seen
You
her
look like you want to say something.
hands in the air.
It's just, you two have already done so much for me, and I couldn't stand just doing nothing again.
So it feels like they probably wasted some.
I want to show you something.
They wasted
Something
her
I've been trying out.
their budget to animate things,
Activate the Iota Forge
and then
in a place like
all her gems are glowing,
Will
which
you be okay?
I guess gives you
It'll be fine.
an excuse to have gems
This
on the
is for
robots.
you.
Then we have another custom art with it's just a whole bunch of little robots, little bunny robots.
I did it right, but I tried my best. It's supposed to be... It's a ballroom dance! Yes, that's right.
And you can see when they have this custom like full screen animation,
It's the real thing.
it does feel like a different animator was assigned that, because the characters do look fairly different.
Come on, let's dance. But I don't know how to dance. That's okay. I'll teach you. I won't be any good at it, Luna. You don't have to be. Come on, just try it. Okay.
So you probably wouldn't have heard
That was so much fun.
to potentially
Can't believe we danced
have
for that long.
one of those special
Yeah,
art
it was my first time
like
dancing.
cutscenes.
I want to do it again sometime.
Have one of those unlocked before there ever is a flashback sequence, and then instead of showing us nothing during a flashback, they could show us that art again. It also definitely feels like these art sections should unlock somewhere in like a CG gallery, but I haven't found anything like that. It might be hidden under the many buttons in this game.
Actually, it was the first time I was able to use this much power.
It would also be nice to
Because I wanted to thank you.
to
It's kinda hard to believe
potentially
I could make something so great.
be able to download those images and use them as like
I helped you?
background art on the desktop.
Luna? What is it? I always thought I'd be useless. A reject. Good for nothing scrap. And because of that, I stayed here.
No matter how lonely I felt, no matter how much I wanted to see my sisters, I knew I had to stay here. But maybe if I had you by my side,
We're friends, Ania. I mean, we're not that different, are we? When you're sad, I'm sad. When you're happy, I'm happy. So you don't have to do it alone. We're friends now.
We're friends?
This is gonna really
Luna, actually,
turn her rotten when she leaves her alone and moves to a different world.
What is it? You can tell me anything.
I've always wanted to see my sisters. To leave this miserable place and be with them. Not only that, I want to be helpful too. Because they've always protected me and it should be my turn to protect them. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Is there really something I can do?
You can do it. I know you can. Because you're amazing, Ania. Right, Clunky?
Yep. When you two work together, incredible things happen.
Luna, roly-poly.
What are you waiting for? Let's go see your sisters.
Okay. Let's go see them together. The three of us.
Yeah. Don't worry, Ania. I'll protect you no matter what.
So yeah, we're gonna get a resolution of this story, which is fine. It's nice. It's a nice little story. It's not just based around combat. But then you have this wrap up. And will this wrap up now make sense as the wrap up to the story?
Looks like we're all here, Tetra.
Like everybody meets together.
Yes.
And you have Tetra
Things are going to work out.
basically admitting
there's no way we'll
that she's been lying about the afterlife.
I appreciate your words of comfort.
And I guess Anima wasn't lying about much.
You know, I have decided two things. First, I will come clean regarding my sins. And secondly, I will make amends for them, starting now. Everyone, I told you that so long as we have access to your backup data, then you need not fear destruction. But this was false. If you are destroyed, I do not know of a way to restore you. I have lied to you.
Yeah, this ending really wouldn't make sense to people who hadn't played Isabel's story first. You wouldn't know any of these characters on screen at the moment.
This is awful.
You barely know Tetra. You wouldn't know anything about J2, which we still don't really know what's going on. What happened to J2.
My purpose was to guide you, protect you. But the more I cared, the more I began to deny what was happening. I wanted salvation for our people, a new world order. But it seemed like an impossibility.
I will say this background gets used too often. They could have definitely used one or two more backgrounds, or they could have potentially flipped this background like they've been willing to flip the foreground characters. Then you could have had some different sections where that felt like they were on the other side of the city. But yeah.
But then a dear companion told me
it kind of feels like they spend all of their time just in the same scrapyard.
Everyone, I have wronged you, but I will not let my sins decide our future.
And then the speech is still very weird. Like, turn your fear into hatred.
I can muster. No more hiding. I will fight the tyrant that threatens us. The tyrant that threatens Iolan.
And Anemia's apparently not going to even have a single sentence here, or be shown on screen.
If we attack him head on, he will surely employ any means necessary to win, no matter the casualties. You, me, his own forces. The destruction will be immense. If you are caught in the crossfire, you may not make it back. The only one who could repair you is Baphomet himself, and I assure you that will not happen. This life is the only one you have, but I am pleading with you to lend it to me, so that we may fight together and save our world.
It feels like you could probably starve him out fairly easily.
Are you certain?
Or just
Knowing that
directly
J2 and
assassinate
Io won't
him.
ever come home. It's almost too
We
much
don't
to
know
bear.
who Io is either.
I want to reject this sadness, but that would be like rejecting the fact
Yeah.
that they were destroyed by Baphomet.
You probably
I'll
do
accept
your
this
best to
sadness
just
and change it into
like
hate,
suicide bomb
and then I'll take that hate
or
and turn it into
assassinate
power. I am
Baphomet,
glad
and
to hear
then
that.
that would be the
Thank
end of
you,
the fight.
J3.
You can count me in. Fighting sounds better than waiting here and rusting away.
I'll go too. I've got family to protect.
It sounds awful. Can you imagine?
I wonder
We're talking about dying here.
if each of these robot characters were supposed to have
Might not come back from
a
this.
different skin and they ran out of budget.
Well, Urias, I imagine you're elated.
I'm
to
not
know
sure
the
I
conflict
fully
to
believe
end all
that.
conflicts is soon upon us.
But it
Are you prepared
might
to
make
see
some
my
sense.
sisters in action?
Do not disappoint me.
I just hope I can do my part.
So yeah,
I'll help too, Ania. We'll fight together.
so these two
Thank you,
say
Elena.
two things and that's it.
How about you? Looks like you've already made up your mind, though.
Am I really that easy to read?
Not at all. Just thought you'd want to keep an eye on your allies. We'd be glad to have your strength regardless.
This almost feels
I'm in.
like they're adding a few
To those of
sentences
you
here
who
and
have
there
made the difficult
to
choice to fight
this
with me,
scene, but
I thank you.
probably not. I
And
was just
ask
probably
you
not
now
paying
to
attention.
place your trust in me. I will not promise you anything. Rather, I will make a vow. We will defeat Baphomet, and we will
It is
secure
really
our
just a
future.
terrible battle speech.
Now, let us prepare. For our true rebellion starts today.
Okay. Like, again, good writing. I would say that puts this in 5 to 7 out of 10. And honestly, I don't really think the writing of this main story in this game will reach more than 8 out of 10. I just don't think there's enough budget there or enough focus there for that to happen. That being said, while Luna's story was very nice, as a side story it didn't all center around fighting, and it did have way better character development for Luna than the previous chapter. It really didn't include her or do anything for her in the story. She might as well have not been there, which at a certain point that might very well be the argument. If there's 8 characters, maybe a chapter would be better if it was just one character and then another character on one world, and then you could put out more chapters telling different stories. Although at a certain point you're going to run out of worlds, because we've already seen a fantasy magic world and another fantasy magic world, and now we're seeing a robot sci-fi world. You're not between sci-fi space things and robots and fantasy magic. There's not a lot of other things. There's just normal human beings, but you can't make too many cards based on that. That was an hour and 35 minutes, which is definitely not terrible. I had meant to come over here and play in between this recording, the last recording, and this one, and I actually didn't. So I don't have any rewards there. Actually, I think all my missions I need to do also. 30 gold with Runecraft or Forestcraft, and then Evolve. So I should replace this one. But last time I replaced one, it turned into a 10 rupee challenge. I'm still very much not accomplishing this by any means. Wanted to check here. Let's see. The replay button brings up replays of games you've won, which if you just look at the massive amount of losses, you can see I'm not doing particularly well there. Tickets and item history, like tickets, let's see, tells what you have 20 challenge tickets and card packs, and that's it. So we're not sitting on anything else. Is there something possibly under others? No. And then settings. It's just all of this. And we don't have any friends or ratings. So if it was going to be anywhere, it would be somewhere around here on the main story if you wanted to see those CG art things. And yeah, there's not going to be really an indicator if you wanted to see that art. So that's gonna be a pain, to say the least. Let's see, what new flares do we have recently? I don't think they get marked as new. It still seems like there's a decent amount. What new emblems have I gotten recently? Nope, nothing, no new emblems. So, I don't think I've gotten any new avatars because that would make, they're really not offering that to you. Yeah. Getting the different avatar characters versus, and getting seer stones and getting the premium currency all seem like things that Shadowverse just won't really offer you. It's just not going to happen. So that is all premium, which on the level of premium, I looked at the price and the packs available as far as getting gems, because in theory I'd potentially want to spend 3,000 crystals to buy this 3 times and get this pack. But in practicality, having just been banned unfairly from a game where I spent money on a beginner's bundle, I really have no logical reason why I would put money into a free-to-play game that until I've really determined that I'm going to play it for the long haul. And I kind of know I'm not going to play this game for the long haul because I want to move on to the Marvel collectible card game from Second Dinner as soon as it goes into beta and gets made. But to buy gems, it is $7.99 to get 800 gems. You need 1,000 crystals, not gems. You need 1,000 crystals, so you would have to buy the one-time purchase for $7.99, which you can only do once, or you buy the special deal for $79.99, and then you would have enough gems to buy all of these. So that they really have it built in such a way where there's no way you could buy the exact amount of crystals you need. You're always going to have some left over, and you're going to end up spending quite a lot. Effectively, this offer here, which ends in probably a matter of hours, 13 hours left, costs $30. On top of which, this is the last $30 they're trying to get out of you, because they've already been trying to convince people to buy packs with gems for this whole new expansion. And there's a daily deal here for 50 crystals, but you would have to spend crystals again. So yeah, that is a 50 cents deal, and in theory you are only spending $1 on $1 on a pack. But it's still not really great when you start looking at the draw rates and the just ridiculousness here. These packs contain 8 cards with one at least silver legendary card, where gives you a 10 pack bundle. Each bundle gives you 20 card pack bundle points, which inherently I guess means this is 10 packs of 8 cards, including at least one silver legendary card. But fortunately, we're still getting tickets, so we can still open things and celebrate. And I still am not really in a position where I have a good reason to build a deck, since we already have some tickets still left, but I think I am in a much better position to actually try and build a deck. I think I kind of understand what I'm doing now, at least to a level higher than I was doing a week ago. So we have Arcane Auteur, puts insight in your hand, and is this a robot? No, why would this be a robot? This isn't even the expansion with the main story. This is newer. Here we have Shield Phalanx. I think this is a new card. Summon a Shield Guardian or a Knight. Shield Guardian are these that have a 1/1 with Ward. A Knight is a 1/1 without anything. Is that, what, did I misread this? Yes, Shield Guardian and Knight. Which, okay. But then the animation here doesn't make sense, because you have a character and then 2 characters on either side, but then they only summon one of these characters and one of these characters. So whoever was given the job to draw this art did not know what the card was actually going to do, and that seems like that's fairly believable, frankly. I could see commissioning artists to draw something along this line, and then 6 months of debating as far as research and development happening, and that would potentially cause that discrepancy. It does have a rally of 15 to summon a Font Guard General, which he is a 7/5/6, which then summons a Fortress Guard, which is a 2/3 with Ward that evolves to a 4/5. So perhaps with the rally ability, then you get to the point where there's 3 of them on screen, but that's unlikely to happen most of the time. Next we have Death Vowel, which this isn't one of those images that's just so neon and so busy that I can barely even tell what it is. I see a bird skull of sort and some claws of sort and some feathers of sort, but boy, is this way easier to see what you're looking at than that. Regardless, it is a crystallized, cooldown 3, last words gain 4 shadows. It's a Shadowcraft card, and then if you summon it for 4, you get 4 shadows as a fanfare instead of a last words, and the last words are to draw a card, which makes that probably a fairly good card to play. Here we have Honorable Thief, Rally 7, evolve this follower, last words put a Gilded Boots in your hand. This guy, much more interesting to look at than the masked version of this guy. And then Gilded Boots are just this image that we've seen Gilded Boots being given as a token before. The game probably needs some more tokens. I have several of these Cloud Gigas. At the start of your turn, put Cloud Gigas into your deck and banish this follower. Put a Cloud Gigas in your deck. It's always weird that that's how this works. Is instead of just saying put this card back in your deck, which would make more sense, it says put a clone of this card into your deck and banish this follower. which I guess potentially stops any kind of synergy, because had you put some spell on this guy that gave him like a last words ability, banishing them would not activate the last words ability. Or if you'd put some kind of modifier on this guy to increase his attack or defense, putting this card back in the deck might make people feel like they deserve to maintain that increased attack and defense, and they just didn't want it to work that way. And so that's a weird way to phrase it, but it does kind of make sense. The other way you would say that is remove all effects and put this into your deck. We have another Arcane Auteur. Puts an insight in your hand. Insight is just draw a card. I feel like I've seen insight cards with different art, and so they may have redone the art on for the new expansion. Then we have Artifact Scan. Put copies of 2 random allied artifacts with different names destroyed this match into your hand. Then, if at least 6 allied artifact cards with different names have been destroyed in this match, change their cost to 0. That seems like that would be very, very difficult to accomplish. It's also worth mentioning that this artifact that is being scanned is like a giant, I would call, kunai with a ball and chain on top of it. It does look like it is just this giant weapon, and here you have a human running some kind of scanning mechanism on top of it. Let's see. Is there anything else to say or do? I did want to look at... Here's Steel Rebellion. So, here you have Wizardess of Oz and Fellini as leader cards. So, Steel Rebellion is the expansion in which all of the cards would have been for the chapter that we're doing, in the section that we're doing, which does go to show that there was quite a lot of expansions here that were just cards that didn't really connect to the main story too much. Like, if maybe this is supposed to be Larissa, and maybe this is supposed to be one of the elves, but not all that makes sense. And then the Darkness Evolved expansion, I don't recognize any of these characters from the main story. Rise of Bahamut, again, no characters there. Tempest of the Gods, don't recognize any of those characters here. Wonderland of Dreams, clearly is supposed to be like Alice in Wonderland. Starforged Legends, that might be a bit of a space expansion. Cronus Genesis, a time travel expansion. Dawnbreak Night Edge is probably a like vampire type thing, and I would say when you hit about Dawnbreak Night Edge, you start to see that the art style kind of takes a decided shift, at which point they may very well have shifted their focus or gotten a different artist, because we start to see less and less of the adult style characters, and you get more of the moe anime style characters, which, in all fairness, these expansions may have come out right when moe really became the big deal in anime, but you are definitely seeing more focus on a female character, no more male characters being the main focus. Here you have the main bad guy in Steel Rebellion being a focus, so I'm wrong about that, but also I would say he still looks very anime-esque, and here you've got Rebirth of Glory, and this character in particular looks fairly moe. Moe being in general described as having anatomically incorrect proportions, looking to many people's eyes younger, but in all actuality not looking human at all. But then you have Verdant Conflict. Seems like maybe they have two artists that bounce back between expansions, because Verdant Conflict is more that old style fantasy art for that character. And then you've got Ultimate Coliseum, which is probably the tournament arc, if I was to guess, and he definitely looks anime. And he definitely looks anime. And then this is kind of back to fantasy. It would take too much time to actually look at all the cards, though, and see if the balance has shifted with expansions, as far as how many cards have anime girl looking characters versus the fantasy, more J.R. Tolkien-esque fantasy looking characters. Well, is there anything else that needs to be touched upon? No, I don't think so. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.